what's going to take the most capital investment, what's going to be the quickest turnaround, what's going to be the most consistent, what's going to have the most expenses. And we get to weigh these options with our clients and say, we feel the best route for you is going X. And this is where we think we're going to get you the highest and best use out of your property. So we get to guide the clients.
What is up, beautiful people? Episode 115 with the great Stephen Hunt, great friend of mine. I had him on the podcast with his beautiful wife Angel last time, like a year and a half ago. I wanted to have him back on, hear all the differences in his business because I know it's expanded, it's changed a lot. I bet he's still getting deals the exact same way, but I've been watching some of your content and it's been cool seeing your journey. And I like doing this every once in a while, where we like bring somebody back and it's like, hey, look at how much they've developed. Look at how much they've grown. And look at how much can happen in like a year and a half, right? He has a beautiful new baby, which is awesome. That's like one of the big things that happened since he was last on. Ano is watching, which is dope. Great friend. So just, it's cool, man. So first off, real quick, for the people who don't know you, for the nobody who doesn't know you, just introduce yourself, introduce your business, what you mainly do, all that good stuff. And we'll just quickly start there.
Totally. Well, first and foremost, thank you for having me, Jonah. It's so great to be back for seconds. Scorch the fears. So much has changed on just this channel alone. I mean, the intro alone is completely different. So much is going great in your world too. So it's awesome to be back here. But a little bit about what our businesses do. So we run multiple businesses at this point in time. We have an acquisitions business, which is our B2B marketing channels. We have our fix and flip business, which is going great. It's awesome. Love to JV in that business as well, which is so much fun because I get to collaborate with so many different investors. We have our buy and holds, which I don't really consider a business. I run it like a business, but we have our buy and holds that we still keep. And then we started a property management business about a year ago as well. And that has been going full speed ahead, just taken off. Super stressful, tons of lessons to learn there as well. But it's been a blast, man. It's been so awesome.
So we got like three main business lines. We've got fix and flipping, we've got your own personal buy and holds, and then a property management company. Yes. So very different than last time we talked. Last time we talked, I think you were just fix and flipping and just buy and holding. What made you want to start a property management company as well? And what made you want to go down these three routes? Because I mean, there's so many different businesses you can start in real estate. You know this better than anybody else. But why those three? Why those three businesses out of any of them?
That's a really good question. So with those three businesses, I was already in the real estate space, and I can talk a little bit about that. But with the property management side of things, when I look to go start a business, I'm always looking for businesses that have a lot of residual income. And when it came to the property management side of things, I was in this world where the rates were changing when it came to buy and holds. So much was changing in terms of the pivots that you had to make, the exit strategies you had to make, and making money on a hold became more and more difficult. However, my property manager, who was my best friend as well at the time, was still making the same amount of money every single month. So we ended up deciding, hey, let's just team up. I see a lot of areas of opportunity and things that need to be improved upon in the property management space that I would love to be able to bring to the marketplace to serve investors like myself that are looking for these types of solutions. So that was really the whole idea about going behind it, is let's figure out a way that we can do something that's still involved in real estate that helps reduce my costs when it comes to the balance sheet at the end of the year, but can still be involved in real estate, and also is something that is highly desirable if I want to sell it off in the future. And property management is just that. You get awesome valuations when you get to certain points in property management. So it's not just working towards this monthly check that's continuing to increase. It's the multiple of what we're going to be able to sell this business for 2, 3, 4 years down the road as well.
So why is property management have a higher multiple than like any other business? Is it because it's more consistent, or like what about property management makes it so being able to sell it at a lot higher price?
Yeah, it's that alone essentially is the consistency of it. You can predict exactly what you're going to be making when it comes to property management. Your margins aren't huge. It's not like owning a roofing business where you can go get a roofing job and make 5, 10K on that roofing job and profit. It's smaller chunks, but it's a consistent amount of chunks. And there's a contract that comes involved with that too. Most property managers, including ourselves, have a 2-year agreement that we put together. So when we're going to sell off the book of business, we already have a future of, hey, these people are locked in for 2 years working with us. So they already have an expectation of what the cash flow is going to look like and what they're going to be able to build off on top of that as well.
Totally makes sense. I like it. So awesome. So last time we talked super long about how you got properties, right? Because it's in a super cool way. It's by like making relationships with other businesses, with hospitals, with all sorts of different people that like are much more very like all business to business. Like that's how you got all of your leads. Is that still how you get all of your leads for fix and flipping, for your buy and holds? Like, is that still the case?
For things that I take on myself, yes. So I still have that referral network actually working for me currently. I haven't been out in the field doing the business to business model in almost a year now, actually. Ever since we had our baby, I stopped going out into the field doing that whole thing. And I love doing it. I wish I could be out there more, but building the property management business, there's only so many areas that I can really stretch myself and still helping run some of the fix and flips and all that kind of good stuff. So when those deals come through that pipeline, yes, in that case, absolutely. I am working to build that back up now, actually. Just recently, we started to say, hey, let's go ahead and start launching our GAPS project. That's what we call it. It's Golden Age Property Solutions, GAPS for short. So we're starting to launch that off again. But the other fix and flips that are coming through has just been from social media and networking with other investors throughout all of Arizona and having those individuals come to work alongside with me as well. So we're doing these 50-50 JV splits where somebody brings the deal, somebody brings the funding, and then I'm bringing the experience of, hey, this is how it's going to run. This is how we're going to keep our expenses down. I've done enough of these now at this point to feel extremely confident in what I'm doing. So if you want a secure place to be able to learn how to do fix and flips, let's partner up together. So a lot of deals this past year have been coming straight from partnerships.
I love it. Let's talk about it. So social media and networking, what does that mean? What have you been doing that other people aren't doing in order to get deals from social media and from networking and all that good stuff?
Yeah, I'm showcasing what I'm doing. I'm talking about what I'm doing. I'm showing the results of what I'm doing so people can actually see this tangible thing that I'm doing. And it shows that I know what I'm talking about. And if people want to get involved with me, I go, hey, yeah, absolutely. Why don't you, let's go check out a couple of the projects that we have going on right now. Let's break down what the numbers look like. Let's talk about why I'm making the decisions that I'm making. So that way we can learn together and collaborate together. The other thing is that I've also just built up such a vast network of resources in that period of time, from the hard money lenders, from the materials that I'm purchasing, from the crews that I'm working with. I've already done all that hard work that you have to go through a lot of trials and tribulations and a lot of pain to learn about these things. So when people come in to work with me, it's a seamless process for them. And I can just plug them into straight education mode versus me trying to figure it out at the same time too. Does that make sense?
100%. No, of course it makes sense. Yeah, no, it totally makes sense. I mean, they're seeing what you're doing. They see it all. So they're like, okay, let's bring him a deal, right? How many deals do you feel like that brings you in every single month?
I would say now I take a lighter approach too. I could really crank up the volume on that if I truly wanted to. Again, I'm trying not to stretch myself too thin. I'm in this place now in life where I just had a baby and I'm trying to remove things off my plate. I have a really bad habit of really inundating myself and doing a little bit too much. But in this case, I'm probably doing 2 to 3 deals a month doing it this route.
Nice.
And I like it that way because I can kind of spread out the stress of, hey, having too many things going on at once between having multiple partnerships. So when I connect with one partnership, it's, hey, we're just talking about this. Next partnership, we're just talking about that. It's not as stressful as having it just all in myself too.
What do you feel like you're focusing most on? Like you on in like if you took your day, how much is the buy and hold, your own buy and holds? How much is the fix and flipping, and how much is the property management? And which one are you trying to grow the most, and why?
Good question. So right now, the thing that takes the most focus from me is the property management. And that's because I know you and I have joked about this before in the past, but it's the idea that it's a real business. We have real team members that are showing up with us in the office every single day. We have a commitment to clients that we have to be able to follow through on a monthly basis. It's not one transaction and it's done. It is a consistent, how are we going to make this perform? How are we going to make sure we're getting you the results we said we were? How are we staying on top of things so that we're staying competitive in this marketplace? It's such a different approach as opposed to doing just real estate. And that's why there's more value on the back end there too. And that's why I'm putting more time into it, because I can go off and sell the property management business. Going off and selling my fix and flip operation, it's highly unlikely. You don't see a lot of fix and flip operations selling off because that's a lot of that's just coming from me. And that's how it is for most fix and flippers too. I am the source of how the deals are kind of coming through for the most part, because people are either bringing them to me or I'm going out direct to seller and getting them myself. So that's why I'm putting so much more effort and emphasis, I guess I should say, on the property management side of things, because it's this whole new world. We're talking about just a different set of employees, a completely different way of doing things that compared to the traditional fix and flip or buy and hold investments.
I love it. So talk to me about property management companies, because like I don't know. I'm gonna play devil's advocate because I don't know that much, but it always seems like, damn, a property management company, they get like 10% of the rental income. So we're talking like, let's say it's a $1,500 rental, $150 every single month. That can be really good, but that also seems really small. So is the whole idea is like get 1,000 of those, like then that's how we make like an insane amount of money, 100, 500, and then sell it off? Or like, what's the grand plan, and how do you even grow that property management company to a place where it could be sold off?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So you're right, it's smaller margins. And I kind of mentioned that earlier too, about it's this world of small margins. So when you get a new property onboarded, it's not like this, oh my gosh, like when you close a wholesale deal, you're like, dude, 20K, awesome. You're like, cool, I got a property management client that's $120 a month. It's not this crazy amount of money, but you start stacking them up. And yeah, you do get into that world where, okay, now consistently we have 5K, now we consistently have 10K, now we consistently have 20K, 25, 30K. And it starts to build and build and build. And in the world of property management too, it's the idea of everything happens in volume. So the more you can continue to grow the property management business, the more business you're giving to other people. And that's what I like about it a lot. And it's reduced my cost on fix and flips as well. Like I said, I've really started to try to create this ecosystem here, what can service my other businesses as well. So I don't have a property management cost now on my not fix and flips, for my buy and holds. So that's great. But also, vendors that I'm working with, now that we manage over 100 properties, you can assume that we're getting at least a problem for 20 properties every single month coming up. So whether the plumbing went bad or the electrical went bad or something happened, we're giving a ton of volume and a ton of work to vendors. To put it in perspective, we did $194,000 to vendors in the past 2 months. So we've paid out vendors $194,000 in that period of time. So we get the best of the best pricing. So my cost is lower when I'm doing fix and flips. We get all these awesome incentives when we're working with them. And then on top of that, as we continue to grow that volume, they want to keep us as clients. We can start to get affiliate programs. And that's actually something that just started getting implemented now, where we're getting 10 to 15% kickbacks from the vendors as well.
I love that. So that makes a lot of sense to me. Like, even more than selling it off, it's also a huge vertical for you. I didn't even think about the fact that if you own a property management company and a fix and flip business, one of the biggest problems for flippers is keeping their guys busy. You don't have that problem ever. You could have no flips and your guys would still be insanely busy because you're managing properties constantly, right? That's pretty damn smart. I like that a lot. So cool. I like that a lot too. And then, so you're talking about affiliate as in like when somebody needs a contractor, you affiliate them out and get 10 to 15% kickback. Is that what you mean?
Yes, kind of. It's really across the board. So we're a full service property management business, and we go truly above and beyond for the clients that we work with. So I'm talking down to, and I can go into what the name and all that kind of stuff is about the property management business, what makes it unique. But somebody can literally go buy a property and say, I got a property. Now what do I do? And we say, don't worry about it. We'll take it from here. And we'll flip the property around for them. We'll get the entire property furnished. We'll get all the photographs. Literally, they have to buy the property, bring it to us, and we will do everything else for them. So when it comes to setting up the properties, we get a kickback on that. When it comes to maintaining the properties, we get a kickback on that. When it comes to any of these aspects of it, we're getting a kickback because we're putting the extra work to make sure that they're taken care of. But also it keeps a higher standard for how we need our properties to be looking and performing. Because if we are taking on properties that are previously slumlord houses, we're not going to be maximizing rents. We're not doing the best by our clients in that situation. And we're making less money in that situation too. So if we're able to control that from start to finish, we can maximize the rents. We can maximize what people are getting. And then we can also get more kickbacks too from our vendors.
So are you just doing, when you're a property management company, you just property manage long-term rentals, right? Or do you actually do other ones? Because you said like you would furnish them. So do you do long-term furnished rentals, or are you talking like midterm, short-term? Like, do you do other types of management other than long-term rentals?
Well, I'm so glad you asked, Jonah. Yeah, so our company is called Habu Property Management, and it's an acronym, HABU. It stands for Highest and Best Use Property Management. Where did this come from? Well, it came from me getting my teeth kicked in on a few too many deals that I was holding on to because the market shifted. The interest rates went up. The values are starting to drop. We were in this situation where it's like, dude, this was supposed to cash flow $500 a month. And now I don't know what I'm going to do. How do I turn? Where do I go to? And when you go to your traditional property manager, like you just mentioned, they're typically just doing long-term rentals. It's usually long-term rentals, 10% management rate. It's kind of the standard, what you expect when you go to a property manager. Now we get to act differently. We get to act as consultants in these situations. So again, somebody can bring us the property and we go, let us run the numbers for you. We're going to see how this is going to perform as a long-term rental, a mid-term rental, a short-term rental, and a co-living house. And what's going to take the most capital investment? What's going to be the quickest turnaround? What's going to be the most consistent? What's going to have the most expenses? And we get to weigh these options with our clients and say, we feel the best route for you is going X. And this is where we think we're going to get you the highest and best use out of your property. So we get to guide the clients in those situations too. And it gives us more variance, I guess I should say, in terms of the management rate that we're getting. We stay below the standard when it comes to most management rates, long-term 8%, mid-term 10%, short-term 15%, which is quite a bit lower than most people. And then we do co-living at 12%. So we're talking right below the standards on all of those, but giving an A+ 5-star service on top of it.
Well, I love that. Are you only in Phoenix? You're probably only in Phoenix is the issue.
Only in Phoenix. Yeah, you met my business partner, Drew.
Colorado next, because I could use you in Colorado. I'm just going to throw it out there. Like, I could use you. I can't wait till you go nationwide. Because, yeah, I mean, that's what everyone needs, right? I honestly, that's one of my biggest problems is that it's like, God damn it. Like, I need property managers who can do everything, right? It's easy to find property managers who do long-term rental, but it's really hard to find property managers, good ones, that'll do short-term rental, that'll do mid-term rental, that'll do, co-living spaces. That's like the most interesting one. I mean, pad split is this big thing right now, right? But pad split isn't everywhere, right? So really the only good property managers I've found in Colorado so far are long-term, and it's just super annoying. I'm like, this gives me one exit strategy. I personally hate managing properties. I think it's garbage for me personally, right? But yeah, I need you to come to my market, dude. That's what I need in my life.
I also hate managing properties. That's why I partnered up with my property manager and said, hey, let me bring the business in. Let me help scale this business out. Let's help grow this business. You be the great property manager that you are, that you love being, and let me just work the business side of this. There'll be no shortage of leads. There'll be no shortage of anything else. That's my responsibility. And it's worked out really, really well in that case. We were actually partnered up with Pad Split. We were their go-to partner in Arizona. So we were taking on all the pad splits to begin with. We charged super cheap to manage the pad splits because we wanted to get the experience. And we saw a bigger picture there as well too. Most people that are doing pad splits on that side of it, it wasn't their first property that they're doing. It's like, hey, I'm a buy and hold investor. I'm going to try out this new exit strategy. So most of the people that were coming through pad split in that funnel, they had other properties. We were able to bring those properties on with us too. So even though we've moved away from our partnership with Pad Split now, we've chosen to just do co-living on our own. We still got to retain a lot of those same clients that came through the Pad Split channels.
Nice. So let's talk about your partnership with your property manager. How'd you meet him? How did this idea start, right? I mean, a lot of good ideas start that way, especially you and I are visionaries. A lot of good ones start when we meet like an integrator or someone who can do the operations, which is what he would be doing, right? How did you meet him? How did you have the conversation about partnering up? How did all of that happen?
So we've known each other, man, since I was like 19 years old. We were serving tables at Oregano's Pizza Bistro in Arizona, in Chandler. And we only worked together for like a day or two. Then I got fired. And then he eventually got fired too at some point. But we just remained super, super close friends. Clicked really well. Just really, really good friends. He got into property management 7 or 8 years ago. He wanted to just get into real estate and be an agent. And then fell directly into property management, fell in love with doing property management. My goal was like, hey, dude, I want to buy rentals and then you can manage my rentals. And we had this whole plan of how that was going to work out. And then you fast forward, I get into real estate and then he wasn't loving where he was at with property management. He's like, I think I want to do this thing and just do it on my own and start my own business. I was like, hold on, dude, let me do it with you. Let's do it together. This will be so much fun. And it has been. It's been super stressful, but it's been a ton of fun too. So it's been a really rewarding experience in that sense.
What have been your growing pains? Like, what are like your challenges right now? Like, I'm curious. Like, how does it what have been your challenges with starting a property management company and growing it and all that?
For me, it's been regulation has been one of the biggest ones. There's so much red tape when it comes to property management. It's crazy to me. So many audits that can happen with the Department of Real Estate. It's such a regulated field. And you always have to make sure your numbers are adding up. You always have to make sure you have your ducks in a row, because you can get audited at any point. Somebody can just stop by the office and be like, hey, show me your files. Hey, show me this, show me that. And in the world of real estate, and especially with creative finance, you don't just follow in that straight line that you're told to do. You're walking in the gray area a whole lot of the time. So, and as a visionary, both of us, we're thinking outside of the box. Okay, I could do this, I could do that. And that's where it's been really nice to have Drew as a partner, because he knows the rules of property management so well, where he's like, that's going to put us in jail. We can't do that. Yeah, no, we can't do that either. Nope, can't put those funds in that account either. So he's constantly kind of reeling me back.
What are some things that you almost got put, or you could have been put in jail for? I'm like, just curious, just in case. Just I figure like it'd be good, just in case someday I'm like, yeah, let me try that out, and I remember this podcast.
Okay, so we're acquiring a book of business right now, and I almost got to agree with the seller. I was like, hey, instead of me coming with a down payment, I'm going to let you keep all the security deposits, because we have enough cash flow in the business coming in. I'll let you keep all the security deposits, which is like 6 figures worth of security deposits. And then we'll just take over the book of business and we'll start managing it. We'll start making way more cash flow. And then if somebody moves out and we have to turn that unit and we need to give them a security deposit back, we'll just write a check at that point in time. Not everybody's going to move out all at once. We can just do this, systematically. Like, it makes total sense to me. Like, that's just how it should work. And you have to have all of them sitting in an account doing nothing, all the security deposits at any given time. Like, if you get audited, they all have to be there available, and you have to have it down to the cent accounted for.
That makes sense to me. I understand that one. That one is annoying, though. I get what you mean. You could be doing stuff with the money, but yes. I get it. Yeah, totally makes sense.
Better use for all of this.
Wait, sorry, what?
I was saying there's definitely a highest and best use for all that money. So it pains me. Yeah. The investor side of my brain, it pains me, because I'm like, why are there hundreds of thousands of dollars sitting here doing absolutely nothing? And they have to be specific accounts that are trust accounts.
Can't be a savings account or anything like that, where you're getting interest.
There's like 3 banks that you can work through, basically.
That's crazy.
Out here, it's crazy.
Okay. Well, anyways, that's weird. That sucks. But gotcha. Okay. Totally makes sense. And then, okay, so regulations and stuff like that. What's your biggest challenge right now? Like, what are you dealing with in your property management? You're like, man, this is like rough. How do I figure this out?
I would say employment has definitely been a pain point on our end. I know we were just talking about this actually just the other day, was, hey, where do you get your VAs at? Because we're constantly trying to figure out what's going to make the most sense for us when it comes to hires. Property management is something that you do have to have critical thinking skills, but also you can't pay super high because it's property management and the margins aren't super high. So you're looking for these great high-level individuals that can help continue to build the business, but the pay sometimes doesn't match that necessarily. So that's been a struggle, because you're looking for the best possible talent, but at a lower rate. And that's a challenge.
Yeah. I mean, hiring is literally everything in a business. I feel like it's always the problem, right? Mm-hmm. Is getting like the best people. What are you trying to hire for, right? I mean, VAs, if it's virtual, VAs can do anything, right? You're going to have trouble with your customer facing stuff more often than not, unless it's more basic stuff like customer support or tech support or something like that. But what are you trying to hire, or what are the positions you've been trying to hire for that have been a challenge?
Things that it's very difficult to have a VA do, right? So we have a VA for like accounting, like the back end stuff. But when we're talking about like a maintenance coordinator, for example, it's hard to have a VA as a maintenance coordinator, because when they get quoted $3,200 for a hot water heater, they don't know that it should be actually $1,100. Right? And you can get a bunch of different quotes. So then they have to go and try to negotiate and figure out what's the best deal, because we have to try to save our landlords money too. Otherwise, if we show up with a $3,200 bill, the landlords are like, dude, what the heck? I would have used my own company to go do that. So we have to be very strategic on, what does the pricing look like? Are we trying to save them money? Did we exhaust all of our options? So that takes critical thinking skills that it's just challenging to get a VA up to that speed. And I've actually talked to a lot of other property manager owners who have tried that, and they struggled with the exact same thing. Next thing is client facing. Like you mentioned, that can be a little bit more challenging too. So we have our client facing side, we have our vendor facing side, and then we have runners that need to be out in the field checking on the properties, which obviously a VA can't do that either.
That's super interesting. Yeah, I mean, that is definitely harder. I feel like that is an interesting problem. Wholesaling is different. There are different hiring problems with it, right? I mean, wholesaling, it's the cool thing is you get big chunks, so you can pay somebody a salary, for instance, for acquisitions managers. It's just more keeping them motivated. And I've started figuring out different things. Like I'm actually gonna I learned this. I saw this with you, and I've also seen it with Pace. Told me this a long time ago, where it's like you eventually need an actual office. Like you can't just do everything virtually, even if it feels like you can with wholesaling. There's something about how humans react, where they actually need to come into the office. I'm curious if it has to be every day. I'm gonna try a mixed use thing where it's like some days it's virtual, some days it's not. But it's interesting because it's just what happens when salespeople, if they get a big check, they kind of just screw off for a while until they need money.
Until the next quota comes up, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, well, all right.
Moment where you're like, I need more money.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, so that's that. But it's interesting, man. Like, yeah, no, but it's cool to see. It's cool to see all of like the growth you've gone through, all the growth that your guys' businesses have gone through. I love seeing it. I like it a lot, man. Well, we're getting to the end of the podcast. That was fascinating. That was a good lesson for me and like very interesting about how like I'm like thinking to myself, I'm like, how could I do that? I've been buying everything sub 2 and seller financing, so I can't really do that right now. But
I got one more for you though, real quickly on those
okay,
the creative deals before we just jump off, because this is a game changer too, and this is why I think the most valuable deal you can ever do is a seller finance deal with a banking relationship. So when you do a seller finance deal, straight seller finance, try to always add in there a substitution of collateral clause, or just say, hey, Mr. Seller, I'm going to pay you $800 a month, or I'll pay you $1,000 a month, or $1,500 a month if you allow my LLC to pay you directly instead. So instead of me backing this by the asset, I'm going to back it by an LLC instead. And the reason why you do that is because now you have this seller financed house and you don't have a note secured by the deed of trust, which is what a seller finance note typically is. It's secured to the house. You have it secured to your LLC. So now the house is free and clear from what the bank is going to look at. It looks to be free and clear. So you can go get that line of credit right there from the start. So one seller finance deal can literally fund you an infinite amount of deals for the rest of your life. You never have to raise private money. You never have to do anything ever again.
How would you talk to a seller where they'd be willing to do that, right? Because that's much less secure for them than a normal seller financing deal. Because now they're basing it off your business, right?
They are basing it off the business, but you have to be able to build your own credibility. But the way that I do it is I go, hey, Mr. Seller, I can pay you $800 a month, backing this by the house, and I try to understand what their needs are. They need $1,500 a month. The most I can pay you is $800 a month. Or if you allow my business to just pay you directly instead, I'll pay you $2,000 a month. Which one would you be open-minded to? And they're like, I want $2,000 a month. And I'm like, cool. It's still at 0% interest. I still don't talk about the terms of it. It's still a 30-year note. Like I don't break that down. I just only talk about how much money it is. And I let them pick, you want $800 or $2,000? They're like $2,000. I'm like, right on, dude. Sign right here.
Super interesting, my man. You've got my mind turning, which I really like a lot. I'm gonna text you after this. I want to know your HELOC company. I feel like that'd be cool to like meet that if that's possible.
Yeah.
So my man, real quick, what are your socials? How can people reach out to you? I know there's gonna be a lot of people with the HELOC questions. Luke is a common viewer of my stuff and has his mind blown right now. Where can people reach out to you?
People can reach out to me on Instagram. I'm the most responsive on Instagram. Like that's where you want to find me. It's at Stephen Hunt, STEVHUNT, Stephen Hunt. And then you can also catch me on YouTube, which is Stephen_Hunt, at Stephen_Hunt, which is the one that Jonah has linked up there. I am starting to put more YouTube content out there. I will start talking about this stuff more too, because I do think there's a huge disconnect. I think creative finance.
You should get an affiliate link from the HELOC company.
I've tried this already, and they will not.
Oh, that's super whack. Well, anyways, I'm interested in knowing them. Real quick, Luke wants to know, can you do that in every state?
You sure can.
Hell yeah. So Luke's already following you guys. Please follow Steven. He's an amazing guy. He's dropping some really cool content. He's like a really good friend of mine. I really like him. I think he's going to be crushing all sorts of real estate stuff that's going to be beyond this world. His property management too. You guys should hit him up for. He's got a lot of good stuff. Follow him on Instagram. Subscribe to him on YouTube. All that good stuff. Go there. Go do that now. Steven, my man, you've been amazing. I love seeing the growth. I love seeing the grind. And yeah, man, like what, do you have any last words before I end this thing?
Yeah. Go get lines of credit, yo. Go get lines of credit. That is a move. Creative finance is great. Banking relationships are great. One's not better than the other. Like, these are all tools in your tool belt. Know how to leverage all these things, and you will skyrocket. You'll far surpass everybody else.
I love it. I love it so much. Steven, you're a beast. Guys, next week, Scorch the Fears. There's a new podcast I'm going to be creating very soon. I'm going to be announcing it probably next week, hopefully next week. But next week will be Scorch the Fears. I forgot who's coming on, but it'll be episode 116. Steven, you're amazing. Everybody reach out to him. This has been Scorch the Fears, episode 115. Let's freaking go.